Welcome back to the List Building Lifestyle. I'm your host, Igor. Today, I'd like to share with you a portion of an interview I've done with Joel Airway, who's widely considered to be one of the most knowledgeable people about high ticket selling and webinars. And it was done around the time when I just started implementing webinars in my affiliate business. In this interview, I describe how I'm using webinars to promote affiliate products, how we do it effectively, and how I used webinars to dramatically increase, to quite literally multiply my affiliate earnings overnight. So if you would like to make more money with your affiliate marketing business using webinars, this episode is definitely for you. Enjoy.
I'm Igor and this is the List Building Lifestyle, the podcast for anyone who wants to build a wildly profitable email list working from home. If you'd like to make six figures, travel the world, and help people improve their lives in the process, this podcast is for you. I also invite you to claim a free copy of my best-selling book, The List Building Lifestyle: Confessions of an Email Millionaire, at igorsbook.com. Get the free book plus $3,000 bonus package that includes my best capture page templates, email swipe files, and traffic blueprints. Visit www.igorsbook.com for details. And now, it's time to claim your list building lifestyle.
So why don't you give our audience a quick 30 to 60 second background about what it is that you do and how webinars, a very top level overview of how webinars are integrated into your business.
Sure. I'd be happy to. So up until recently, up until about a year and a half ago or so, I really wasn't doing much webinars at all. In fact, the only type of webinar I ever done up until that point were webinars that I've done for my customers, where I would come in, get everyone in the room and I would teach them stuff, right? So those weren't really sales webinars. They're mostly used as a platform to just teach and educate a bunch of people all at the same time. So no different than running a Facebook Live or something. Now, I was primarily focused on building my email list and promoting products through email, mostly sending them to either long-form sales letters or video sales letters for relatively cheap products. So anything from $47 all the way up to $197 maybe, but rarely, if ever, go beyond that. And about a year and a half ago, after my coach kind of hammering this point home for about 5 years and planting tons and tons of seeds, I decided to move into the webinar game. After I read this book about Jason Fladlien, which I highly recommend for anyone who wants to do webinar marketing at all. It's called One to Many. So I read this book and I'm just fascinated with the results he got. And I said, okay, let me try and do the webinar for myself. I get on the first webinar, I rally people up. I even get a friend who also has an email list, kind of as a favor to me, email his list, and I bomb, right? So I do this 3.5-hour webinar where all I do is teach, and I give value, and I teach, and I basically dump a ton of information on them. I come off the webinar and nothing. Absolutely nothing, just crickets, no sales. There were a few visitors to the order form, but nothing to write home about. So that keeps occurring for a few more times before I decide to change strategy and rebuild my webinar into a much shorter webinar with less education, with fewer ideas, and with a different offer. And that literally launches $1 million offer right there that I didn't have before in my business. Not only that, it allows me to start driving paid traffic to this webinar because companies like Google and Facebook, they love webinar funnels. They hate, when you just try to sell right away. But if you're hosting a free webinar, man, they love that stuff. And it basically opens up all these extra avenues, including, by the way, having affiliates promote my webinar. For example, just like you mentioned in the introduction, if you go to igor.ac right now, that's an evergreen version of my latest webinar called Elite Affiliate Pro Webinar, where I teach people how to promote webinars as an affiliate.
So how long ago did you start promoting webinars in your affiliate business? Like, when was that aha moment for you? Was that about a year and a half ago? Or I'm trying to get the timeline straight. Or was it a year and a half ago when you launched your own webinar?
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, I came across an opportunity to have a few people come in and do live webinars for my audience because, quite frankly, to be honest with you, Joe, I didn't have the balls to do them myself. So I would rather email for other people to come in and do those webinars for my list without me having to do it, although I was like in the audience, quietly sitting there and taking notes. So after doing this for 6 months and literally making hundreds of thousands of dollars as an affiliate, I was like, wow, this is really cool. What if I ran my own webinars? And what if I got to keep 100% of the money? And what if I had other people mail for my webinars? All of a sudden, all of these opportunities start bouncing off in my head. And it took a little while to implement. It took a little while to work up the courage to actually launch the first webinar, and it was terrifying. I honestly thought that no one's going to show up. Like, that was my biggest fear, that I'm going to invite people to the webinar, I'm going to run this traffic, they're going to sign up, and no one will show up. I'm going to be, all by myself. And one time it actually happened. One time I did a live webinar for 2 people. But, I had the obligation to do it. Like, I didn't bail on them. But it was devastating, to be honest with you. But yeah, so 2 years ago, I started promoting other people's webinars as an affiliate. It just exploded my business. It added a huge income stream for my business. And I tell you more about in that free training. If you go to igor.ac, I show you case studies and the campaigns and everything. But then I believe the true impact of this strategy is just finding ways to integrate webinars into your business in general. Right? Because webinars just offer an amazing opportunity to engage your audience in a different way. Because you're immediately way ahead of all the other people in the marketplace who just really, all they do is release YouTube videos, for example, or even record podcasts. Because webinar is just that influencer media that people learn to recognize as authoritative media. And that just increases everything you do. Your results across the board will always go up as a result.
Mm. So I'm curious about this because we have never talked about this topic specifically on the podcast. And so I know that my audience is going to be very interested in this. From the affiliate marketing standpoint, when you transition to starting to promote webinars, let's say somebody's out there, somebody's listening right now, and they're interested in becoming an affiliate marketer, and they like the idea of promoting webinars because of the idea of, okay, great, higher ticket offers, better commissions for them. Where are the best ways to start to generate a list for a webinar audience?
Oh, Joel, man, I devoted my whole life to this topic. I even have my own podcast. It's all about list building. And we probably can't squeeze like everything you need to know in what's left of this episode. But I'll tell you this. One of the best ways to start building a list is creating a webinar. And I know I sound like a broken record, but hear me out. To build your list, all you really need is a compelling lead magnet and a way to have the traffic you're buying pay for itself, right? Because we can't just be, paying for the traffic and not seeing any results back. We need something. We need a sales funnel that's capable of getting the leads, getting them interested, right? Getting them to raise their hand and step up. But at the same time, we also need a funnel that's capable of recuperating all of that money. So what I call a self-liquidating list building funnel. Now, most people, what they do, they still subscribe to the old idea that they need like a free report that they give away. And within that free report, they give away amazing, amazing value. And as a result, these people will come back, find their pages, and buy everything they've got. That doesn't work, anymore, unfortunately. It even didn't work when I started back in 2008. So what works, though, is having them invite them to a webinar using paid traffic, be it Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, solo ads, doesn't matter what it is. Get people to a webinar, and the people who attend, teach them something for 45 to 60 minutes, and then make them an offer to a mid to high ticket product. As a result, you will be able to build a large email list that literally pays for itself, even in a marketplace where cost per sale is really high. For example, right now, I have my friend Mike Dillard, the host of the Self-Made Man podcast, right? So he was driving a ton of traffic off of Facebook at one point before Facebook changed algorithm again and jacked up their prices. So he went from paying as much as $200, maybe up to $300 per sale on Facebook. He went up to paying about $700 per sale, but it's still, allowed him to continue and generate customers and leads at least break even, which then allows him to email his list with additional offers and make extra money. So if your goal is to build an email list which you can mail with other people's webinars and make high ticket commissions as an affiliate, then you still need your own webinar to build that email list if you are starting from scratch. and you do not have an existing audience or an existing email list you can tap.
Mm. So in reality, the best way to build the list is with a webinar of your own, right?
Yeah, it's a catch-22 basically. So you want to make money with webinars, whether an affiliate or not, you still need to build one of your own because it allows you to recuperate your traffic investment as the leads are coming in, which is, again, where most people get stifled because they get started and they start paying for ads and they start getting the leads on their list, but they're not making money fast enough to cover for their investment, and soon they find themselves several $1,000s in the hole. So obviously not seeing any positive reinforcement, immediately people just get discouraged and they stop building their list. And that's why that's why there's this big misconception that list building is like out of reach for the ordinary folk. That's not true. They just don't know the right system to do it. On the webinar, there's magic between you and your audience because you get to tell your story. You get to educate them a little bit. You get to position yourself as a credible advisor on your particular niche topic. And that sticks, which is the most important part when it comes to creating that connection with your subscribers, right? They just see you from that moment forward. They see you as a credible advisor, which means next time you're recommending an offer or a product, they're listening. Your word now has more weight than a nameless, faceless affiliate on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
They just listen to you.
Love it, man. So take me back to, let's talk about your webinar, right? Going from the 3-hour-long webinar that nobody bought, nobody went to the checkout page, then completely scrapping that, and 3 months later, having a completely transformed webinar. You mentioned earlier that you shortened it up entirely. You shortened it up tremendously, I should say. You did less teaching, and you changed the offer. Can you give us some more insight as to what specifics you went through to really improve that webinar?
Well, first off, just like we said, I shortened it because one of the reasons why I feel that it took me like 2 hours to get to a pitch and then an hour and a half to kind of go over the pitch is because I was afraid to sell. And this is a very common problem, you're probably seeing as well because you're consulting people on webinars. That is, people are really afraid to make the offer. And in fact, what I learned over the years, many times my success with an offer often depends on me being able to make it with a straight face, which is why I never show my face in a webinar. I'm just kidding. So I was really afraid to sell because I thought nobody's going to buy. So I continued to delay and delay and delay the pitch by stacking up more value, more value, more value. So anytime that I find myself now, these days, trying to cram more content and more value into the webinar, I'm starting to recognize that it's often because I'm afraid to make the offer, which then makes me go to the offer and say, okay, what would make this offer a complete no-brainer for my customer? And that means looking for the holes to seal in your offer. For example, if you're selling a webinar course, you could offer the webinar education, like just a video course on how to build a webinar, how to set it up, and blah, blah, blah. Now, what would make this offer a no-brainer? Probably offering your webinar template, right? Probably offering your keynote slides already designed and prepared for the next webinar. Probably offering your entire webinar funnel through ClickFunnels, which they can copy in one click. Probably, offering your secret traffic sauce that you use to put in, to put 100 people on the webinar every day, and so on and so forth. So the moment you can really seal every objection or every concern or every hole in your offer, meaning that your offer becomes like a complete no-brainer, that's when you'll be proud to sell it.
Now, with you being a traffic guy, a list building guy, I'm curious, as you start to drive traffic, what are you seeing in terms of cost per acquisition? Like, what are your critical metrics when you're running traffic, say from Google or Facebook to an evergreen webinar of your own?
Well, we obviously look for cost per attendee and cost per signup, which are totally different, by the way, because if your attendance rate is 20%, your cost per attendee is actually 5 times greater than your cost per signup, and of course, cost per sale. So these are really the 3 metrics that I'm looking at besides the average customer value. Which, in my opinion, if you are going to drive paid traffic, you better make sure that your average customer lifetime value is at least $1,000, if not more than that, because it's going to be really hard for you to sustain that campaign if you're making anything anywhere less than $1,000 off of every sale.
Got it. Okay. So, I mean, in terms of like, are you looking for a 2-to-1 ROI? Like, what are your kind of baseline metrics when you're running traffic for your own webinar? Like, whether or not you kill the campaign or try and optimize it. Do you have baseline metrics or KPIs that you try to hit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I try to get a webinar attendee at under $8, which for most people is insane. Like most people hope to get it for $2, but that's kind of unrealistic, at least in the market where I operate, which is the make money online market. I don't know what it is like for, lawyers, insurance agents, real estate agents, but, I would aim higher. Like if I were you, I would probably assume that you're going to pay top dollar for each and every single sign up. Attendees are currently, we're getting them anywhere from 15 to $25 per attendee. Again, this may seem like a lot, but when you really nail down your targeting and your offer is good, then you end up making all of that money back. And like I said, you really have to make sure that your average lifetime customer value is really high, exceeding the $1,000, because it's only then and only then you will be able to sustain those campaigns.
Yeah, that's an extremely valuable lesson. There are so many people out there right now that are relying on one leg, right? Like their entire business is standing on one leg, and if that one leg breaks, then their world comes crumbling down. Like they will legitimately have nothing. So it's a good lesson to learn that assume that something is going to happen. It's inevitable, and give yourself some insurance and set yourself up for the long run to make the most out of the campaigns that you're running. So Igor, man, we've discussed a ton today. I mean, I was excited to have this conversation because as somebody who builds lists, you buy media, you buy leads all over the place. I was excited to learn, like, why did you choose webinars? Like, why are webinars now a primary focus for your list building and your monetization? And we covered a lot. We talked about how webinars are like the most valuable way to build and grow a list and build goodwill with your audience, even if they don't buy. But it's also a great way to monetize your list on the first go around, or the second, or the third, or the fourth. Because if they don't buy the first time, then, as you said, which I thought was extremely intelligent, they're waiting for the perfect offer. And even though they didn't buy your offer, or they didn't buy another affiliate offer that you're promoting, they're obviously very interested, and they're looking for that other perfect offer to grab. And so it's just a matter of time until you do monetize that lead and capitalize on it. Was there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to make sure that we shared regarding this topic?
Well, webinars are a vast topic. I believe that you can literally build an entire business around one webinar. And I know a person, it's actually a friend of mine, who built several multi-million-dollar businesses that each business revolves literally around one webinar, and each one of these businesses are affiliate driven. Do you believe that? Like seriously, people send him traffic for free. He only pays out on performance, which means when they refer a sale to his $997 offer, he pays out $497 in commissions. And he basically has other people driving traffic to his one webinar, gives him half the money for the sales, and then emails the list with other offers on the back end, for which of course he didn't pay, right? So anyone who doesn't buy, they just stay on his list. So we can talk about webinars from many different angles, from many different points forever. And there's not enough airtime, in my opinion, to cover that. But if there is one takeaway that I would encourage you guys to really take in, it's that there is no special credential or qualification that is required for you to conduct your first webinar. Because this is like really fascinating to me. Within my mastermind group, the other day I posted a question. I said, webinars are important, but I know that most people don't do them. So here's two possible answers, right, to a question: why are you not doing webinars, or would you do a webinar? And the two answers are: no, I would never do a webinar. Or the other answer is: yes, I would totally do a webinar if I knew how to do it. And so all of a sudden, I'm getting these 25 responses in like an hour, and everybody selects, yes, I would do a webinar if I knew how to do it. But it doesn't make sense, does it? Because there's plenty of information on how to do a webinar, yet most people choose not to do it. And then I start asking them, it's like, but why haven't you created one? And it's like they rehearse the answer all together late at night when I'm not looking. They say, well, I think it's something I'll do later in my business when I'm ready. But for now, I'm laying off the webinars and putting it on the back burner. And that's the biggest problem with webinars. They seem so hard. They seem so complex to people that they're always on the back burner. But what people don't realize is that one webinar can transform your entire life. And I'm not kidding. Like it's that dramatic. One good webinar can transform you from a failure to success literally overnight, opening doors and opportunities you never, ever even considered. So my warmest advice to you is to start creating webinars. Now, if you're really just concerned about it not coming out well, then just go and check out my webinar at igor.ac. Right now, it's available for on-demand streaming. So igor.ac. Watch it for free. Check it out. Study it. Break it down. Figure out why I say things that I say and why the offer is structured this way. It will show you that webinars are not rocket science. Everything I'm doing there is very obvious if you just look and pay attention, and you'll see that there's nothing that prevents you from doing a webinar as well. So again, you're listening to this podcast. It's literally called Sold with Webinars. If you still haven't created your first webinar, stop listening right now. Go start working on your webinar.
Thank you for listening to the List Building Lifestyle. Get access to the previous episodes, transcript of today's show, as well as other exclusive content at listbuildingLifestyleShow.com. Also remember to claim your free copy of my best-selling book at www.igorsbook.com. It explains how I made millions with list building starting from scratch. Plus, I'll give you $3,000 worth of free bonuses, including my best landing page templates, email swipe files, and traffic blueprints. Go to www.igorsbook.com now to claim your free package.